Live 3, and I'm pretty sure everybody's really busy just going through, checking out a bunch of videos. You guys can find out so much detail and information on what it comes with, the specs, internal, the new buttons and layout and all that stuff. There's a lot of stuff, and I know a lot of people are probably looking at all this and feeling a bit overwhelmed with everything that the MPC3 has to offer. Well, I don't want to do that to you on this video. I'm gonna go ahead and just focus on warping and stem separation. Mainly stem separation. I might do warping on a separate video, but these two things I want to talk about because let's say you're like, yo, you know what? I don't want to dive into the whole clips launcher and feature and all the steps. I just want to keep using the MPC the way I would on my MPC Live Mark II or the MPC-1 or the MPC keys. So I don't know if it's worth jumping over to the Live Mark III. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I will say that the Live Mark III sounds better than my previous MPCs. I know it sounds kind of weird, right? Like, oh, it actually sounds better. It does. I feel like the internal memory or the internal RAM makes this machine sound better. Let me explain real quick what I mean by sounding better. If you do get value out of this video and you're thinking of picking up an MPC Live Mark III, I do have links down in the description to Zounds. It does support my channel without costing you any extra. Zounds is awesome. That's where I've purchased most of my gears. You can set up a payment plan. They do not check your background. So if you're gonna purchase a Live Mark III, make sure you use some of my links. All right, let's get back into the video. Previously, with my older MPCs, whenever I would do stem separation or I would try to warp audio, there was a lot of artifacting or it just wasn't something that sounded good to me. The stem separation, it was okay. I always mentioned that on previous videos. I would say, you know, I will use it if I kind of can get away with it. But now on the MPC Live 3 with 8 gigs of RAM, stem separation sounds a lot better. Now, is it not perfect? There is records that I've tossed at it and I'm like, yeah, it still doesn't work. I don't feel like stem separation is perfect in any software, but is a big improvement. So I'm talking about the sound that this new algorithm has with stems and warping. Let's just throw some sound at this machine and see how it handles stem separation. I have some drums that we might sample into the MPC. We'll separate and isolate the drums. Then maybe we can get some other, I don't know, bass notes or something else from a melodic chop. That's cool. So say we have that right there. I like how that sounds. I actually like the bass of what I performed. And there's a lot of times where I'm like, man, I wish I could just isolate the bass and just keep that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this clip and I'm going to bounce it into an audio track. All right. Now, I want to go ahead and process and put this through stem separation. I'm going to hit process. And now right here, I don't want vocals, drums, or other. I'm gonna just isolate or extract the bass from this. And I don't want to put this into a pad. I just want to extract the bass, and let's see how that does. Here's the bass by itself. That sounds perfect to me. I'm gonna name this bass. Hit do it. I'm gonna go to my main page, create a new audio track, and let's just add that bass file right here. So now we have that bass right here on the grid. That sounds really good. There's no weird robotic glitches in the background other than the click that I have right there, which I could just add a quick fade in. Now, I still get that. I'm not saying that's not existent anymore. Of course, we're going to bring in some drums. Let's see how it does with the drums. There might be some artifacting, but is way less than what I was getting in standalone with any of my older MPCs. And let's sample some of these drums right here. And let's just select 1 bar loop. That's a perfect loop. I'm going to go ahead and take out just the drums from this, and I just want to extract that, hit do it. So let's see here how it does just with drums alone. Now we have the bass and this drum break, and both of these elements have been processed through stem separation. The drums right here, I actually have warping engaged. So if I selected a perfect loop, it should warp this and slow it down a few BPM to match the tempo of my sequence. Let's hear how this sounds. All right, so this is the Pro 10 that we had previously on our older MPCs. If I solo, that's unusable for me. That's what we would have on the Live Mark II Pro 10. I would not use that at all. I could put 100 plugins on that and it would still sound really bad. Unless you're okay with that artifacting. Well, now on this newer MPCs, they have a new algorithm called Super. A Super will be set by default. So listen to the difference. That's a big difference for me, and those differences go a long way. Now, we want to work with that and enhance that. We could probably add some plugins to this. You're probably going to run into some records that is just sounds horrible, sounds bad. Just the other day, I was shooting like one record after. You know what? As a matter of fact, let's try to do a record that. So you guys, I don't want to make it seem like this is just perfect and you know stem separation is solved 100%. We might get a record right here, and let's see how it does with this one. Let's go to edit and select a phrase right here. All right, let's work with this right here. All right, so this is about 16 beats or 16 slices, and it's a bit more complex. So we got bass, drums, hi-hats, horns, strings, and let's see how it does with this. Again, these first two records that you heard me chop in the beginning, I already knew they were going to work because I kind of tested them out. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm pre-planning the video and just trying to show perfect sounding records. So let's try with this one. All right, so let's go to that track. That actually sounds really good. That actually sounds really, really good. All right, so this actually sounds really good. I would use those drums. I would use that bass. The others. Look, I'm going to flatten this pad, hit do it, and I am so sorry. We got to chop this up. Let's bring in some drums. We're going to go into the Beat Butcher Filth 8 or Volume 8. This is crazy. I'm going to leave a link down in the description if you guys want to check out some of these drum breaks and one-shots. right, you guys get the point. Look, stem separation is awesome on the Live 3. And that's why I say, yes, it does sound better. I am someone that samples. I am someone that uses my record player, brings in records. Now, not every beat that I sample, I'm like, I need to do stem separation. Absolutely not. Even though stem separation sounds better on the Live Mark III, I still do not want to rely on stem separation. I'm not like, man, I hope I can stem separate this. My first resource is how can I freak these chops, or how can I dig through small micro chopping so I can isolate vocals if I want to get rid of vocals. It's a whole different video we can get into some other time. But if I can do it organically like that and make it sound good, that's always going to be the best way to get rid or hide vocals by using micro chopping. But if you're in a pinch and you cannot find any other bar that doesn't have that vocal or that guitar or whatever it is that you want to get rid of, then yes, stem separation is here on the MPC and it sounds great. So look, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video here. Guys, there's a lot on the MPC. If you're someone like me where it's like, look, I'm just going to sample records. I'm just going to bring in sample drums and bass. This is powerful. I think just the sound alone of this new algorithm of 8 gigs of RAM, sample drums and bass, if you're using stem separation, this machine sounds better. I'll leave it at that. And do not forget, if you guys are in need or want to pick up an MPC Live Mark III, use some of my links. It does benefit and it helps me out financially without costing you anything extra. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'll catch you guys on our next one. Peace.